Hi and welcome along to AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with players that have been linked with a summer transfer move to Arsenal. Don't forget, tomorrow, Claude Cup taking place at the New River Sports Centre, raising money for a great cause. So if you haven't already got your tickets for that, make sure you get those now. And also big up to Emil Smith-Rowe, who scored the winner for England yesterday in England's under-21 game at the Championships against the Czech Republic. Good to see him back on the score sheet. Where shall I start? Only one place to start, and that is with Declan Rice. It was mayhem yesterday, absolute mayhem, as Manchester City officially entered the race to try and get Declan Rice. This has now become a straight shootout. It's like the league all over again. You know what I mean? Arsenal versus Manchester City for the signature of Declan Rice. City haven't put a bid in yet, but they're expected to put a bid in. There's even been reports that they're going to match what Arsenal have done, but with better terms. There's also been a lot of other talk that Arsenal are going to go in with a third bid. It's just mayhem at the moment. Where is Declan Rice going to end up? That is what it's going to boil down to. Where is he going to choose to go? He's got a choice to make. Manchester City, the treble winners, they won everything last season, or Arsenal, the runners-up to the treble winners in the league last season. It comes down to that. Now, there's a lot of people saying things like, well, listen, it's an easy choice, isn't it? You go straight to Man City, Pep Guardiola, best manager in the world. They're going to win things. You're guaranteed to win things. But there's also a train of thought that Declan Rice wants to stay in London. He's got a newborn child, fairly newborn child. He's settled, of course, in London, having been at West Ham for so many years, and his family's settled there. Also, he knows that if he comes to Arsenal, he's guaranteed to start for Arsenal week in, week out. And Arsenal's an exciting place to be right now. Got some very exciting players like Saka, like Saliba, like Martinelli, Odegaard. So he's got a choice to make. Come to Arsenal, start every week. Take Arsenal from being also-rans last season to being the team that wins the title or wins a trophy. Or you just go to a team where you're guaranteed to win trophies, but you're not guaranteed that you're going to start every week. We've seen with Calvin Phillips, you know, he went from starting every week at Leeds to hardly starting at all. When he was playing for Man City last season, we saw Jack Grealish move for £100 million to Manchester City and not, you know, figure much in his first season, although he's been a very integral part this season. That is the choice that Declan Rice is going to have to make, because the fees are probably going to be around about the same at the moment. We know that Manchester City are a team that they will not go crazy and bid way over the odds. Remember when they were going for Harry Kane, they had their ceiling of bids and then they just walked away from the deal. When, you know, Daniel Lavia at Tottenham was saying to them, you know, I want £130 million. They went up to 100 million, Manchester City, and then they just walked away and didn't do it anymore. So it's very intriguing. If you're a neutral, it's very nerve-wracking if you're an Arsenal fan. This, of course, remember, is Arsenal's number one target for the summer. Make no mistake about it. This is the number one target. It's going to be very embarrassing if Arsenal lose out to Manchester City for Declan Rice. Fans already, I mean, yesterday, fans were in meltdown. We did a live show. If you haven't had a chance to watch that, just go and watch that and you'll see there were some fans there in absolute meltdown at what's happening. There are fans I saw yesterday tweeting about Edu, because Edu's wife had tweeted a picture of him having it didn't even have him in the picture, but it's like of 3 people having a beer. Fans in absolute meltdown. What are you doing having a beer? You should be getting this business done, blah, blah. It's not as simple as that. Negotiations need to take place in a transfer deal, especially a deal this big. And even if from day one, Arsenal would have gone in there and put down 100 million, City could still come in and try and outbid them at the last minute. That's what happened last year when Arsenal were getting Gabriel Jesus. At the last minute, Chelsea came in, matched the bid for Jesus, but Jesus himself chose to go to Arsenal because he said, listen, I'd already given my agreement that I'm going to Arsenal, and I think it's an exciting project. So it's going to boil down to the player, where he ends up. And as I said, for Arsenal, this could be embarrassing. I think there's nothing to lose for Man City. If they don't get him, they move on to their next target. He wasn't their number one target. They tried an audacious move and it didn't quite come off. But for us at Arsenal, it's going to be embarrassing. And you start to look at it and start to say there's a lot of problems then in midfield, because we know that Thomas Partey, I spoke about this yesterday, he wants to leave the club. There was a lot of talk yesterday linking him with a move to Juventus. There's also Saudi clubs that are interested in him, but apparently Thomas Partey has said, no, I want to, I'd rather go to Juventus. I'd rather stay in Europe and play my football. I'm not ready to go over to Saudi Arabia yet. So he could be on the move. We've also known about the Granit Xhaka thing, where basically Arsenal are waiting to see what happens with Declan Rice before they sanction his move to Bayer Leverkusen. Surely, if that deal doesn't get done for Declan Rice, there's no way they could make Xhaka and Partey go both in the same window. We would be left so short in midfield. So the Declan Rice thing for Arsenal is big, and we're going to have to wait and see where he ends up. On another midfielder, there's reports today that Romeo Lavia of Southampton has verbally agreed to join Arsenal. We heard that about Rice as well, but we're hearing that he verbally has agreed to join Arsenal. But again, long way to go on that one, because fees have to be agreed with, Southampton, said to be around anything between 40 to 50 million pounds to get that one done. Now, what about, though, alternatives to Declan Rice? We know that one thing Arsenal have done well, because we've missed out on so many number one targets in Vlahovic, in Caicedo, in Mudryk, all these deals, Lisandro Martinez. But one thing they have done is they've gone and done good plan Bs. They didn't get Vlahovic, but they got Jesus. Didn't get Lisandro Martinez, but they got Zinchenko. Didn't get Mudryk, but they got Trossard. Didn't get Moises Caicedo, but bought in Jorginho for a very smart little deal that helped us out. What are there alternatives if they don't get Declan Rice? It's a 50-50 distinct chance that we couldn't get him. What are the alternatives? One of those that's propped up today is Nicola Barella of Inter Milan, the 26-year-old midfielder. He's had an excellent season for Inter Milan. He's an Italian international. He's a superb player. Would be a great alternative, as a matter of fact. Newcastle were trying to buy him earlier on in the window, but they didn't have much success. They've turned now to Sandro Tonali. Could Arsenal make a move for Nicola Barella? He's interested in Liverpool as well. Liverpool are really interested in signing Barella, but he wouldn't come cheap. His market value is around about £75 million, but there's a lot of talk that it'd be more than that. And obviously, any team out there is going to be keeping a close eye on this Declan Rice situation if they've got a player of that ilk, and going to want to be wanting the same type of fee, particularly a club like Inter Milan, where, financially, they're in a little bit of bother at the moment, despite getting to the final of the Champions League. So could Arsenal make a move for Nicola Barella if the Declan Rice deal doesn't happen? Let's wait and see. There's also Martin Zubimendi. I've spoken about him before, from Real Sociedad. Now, this one could be a doable one. He's 24-year-old Spanish international. He's got a release clause said to be 51.2 million. Meet that release clause and get the deal done. Barcelona were the favourites to sign him, but now that they've signed Gundogan, or they're about to sign Gundogan from Manchester City, would they still go in for him? And we know that Barcelona are not flush with money these days. Arsenal previously looked at Zubimendi in the January transfer window, but didn't move for him in the end because Zubimendi made it quite clear that he didn't want to leave Sociedad at that time of the season. They were having a good season at that period. So could Arsenal go in for Martin Zubimendi? As I said, there's been a lot of interest in him before. Or could they return back for Moises Caicedo, the player that they went after in January, and were unable to get because Brighton refused to sell him? Now, Caicedo is available. Chelsea are the team that are right at the forefront of this. They've already said to put in a bid for £60 million, which was rejected by Brighton. Brighton, you know, there was even talk that they want up to 120 million for him. They're not going to get that. But a lot of the talk is that they're looking for in excess of 80 million from Moises Caicedo. Now, could Arsenal try and re-enter that race to try and nick Caicedo from Chelsea if they're unable to get Declan Rice? Caicedo, we know, wants to play Champions League football, and we know that Chelsea don't have Champions League football next season. Despite all of their spending and wealth, they're on a bit of a rebuild. Could Arsenal go back in for Caicedo? Would Caicedo entertain it? Because he might be a little bit upset that Arsenal withdrew from trying to sign him. That was the talk about a week ago. Or would he entertain it and say, well, you know what, actually, I'd love to still go to Arsenal. Doesn't matter that, I'm seconds to Declan Rice. And it'd be a great alternative. It'd be the sort of player that if we didn't get Declan Rice and we got Caicedo, I think that would appease the fans. The fans would look at that and think, yeah, actually, we're getting something that's kind of like for like. So that's going to be interesting to see. You have to think about the plan Bs, because it might boil down to that if Declan Rice decides to go to Manchester City, which is a distinct possibility, as we know. They're the champions. They're the treble winners, and they've got Pep Guardiola. So going to be really, really interesting to see what happens in this situation. We're going to be keeping you up to date with it all day long. Jurriën Timber, of course, is another player that Arsenal have been very interested in. On Monday, they were said to put in a bid of £30 million, which was rejected by Ajax. However, Arsenal said to be looking to go in with another bid, and there's a lot of talk that they've agreed personal terms with the player. He wants to come to Arsenal. He wants to join Arsenal. It's just now for Arsenal to get the deal over the line with Ajax. I have to say, Arsenal right now, Edu, Richard Garlick, Mikel Arteta, under a lot of pressure all of a sudden with this transfer window. It's moved to stress mode because of what's happening with this Declan Rice deal and the whole thing around, Man City coming in. As I said, it can go two ways. They can look brilliant if they're able to pull this off. And I think it would be a real statement, because it'd be like, you know what? He chose to come to Arsenal over Man City, or we can look terrible. Man City trumping us again, not just in the league, but this time in the transfer window. And Arsenal made it a little bit foolish that, it's yet another one of those number one targets that we missed out on. So important times ahead. I think today, tomorrow, over the next few days are going to be really important as we get to find out exactly where Declan Rice is going to go. This is something I feel that will be concluded, over the next few days, where we'll find out what's going to happen. But it's a big few days for Arsenal and this whole Declan Rice saga. Listen, thanks for watching the show today. Once again, don't forget, you can listen to this as a podcast on all your streaming platforms right now. I know a lot of you have been looking at the figures. Loads of you have been listening to this as a podcast. Listen to you on your way to work, on your way home from work. If you can take my voice, right, you can listen to me. Also, you can watch the show every single day, and we keep you up to date all day long with any breaking news. Any breaking news on Rice, we're going to have it right here on AFTV. Thanks for watching the show, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
Shop for AFTV merch at shop.aftv.co.uk. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, and Twitch. We've got content for every platform, so check it out.